Hey, Alex is not here tonight, y'all. I'm in charge. And you know, when Alex isn't here, it is going to be a free for all for dumb shittery. And we're actually going to be able to talk fishing tonight. And that's why I have a couple of the guys on tonight that I have. They're both repeat offenders. We've come a long way since one of them has been on. And by we, he has come a long way. And then we got another one that has more kayak anglers sitting on faces than anybody else out there. This man has single-handedly made kayak anglers' asses and backs better. It's going to be a good time tonight. Look, a couple things. Patreon, first Friday every month, except for this Friday or this month in August. We got to do it later because Alex is gone. It's his fault. And on side note, y'all see, I'm here pretty much all the time. Alex has been MIA numerous times. Now, yeah, he was in the Coast Guard doing his shit, this and that. He's on vacation now. When I'm on vacation, I still show up for recordings. We don't have to do all this schedule changing and me not being here. Anyway, we'll let that be. Patreon, sign up for it. This is the last month, I think, of the $3 special. And you get a live episode where you get to be in the comments. And then if you can't make it live, you get to go watch it on YouTube. It's a good time. We have a good time. We appreciate it. It does help us keep this podcast going because up until that point, the podcast was funded solely by Alex. And we're getting it to the point with y'all's help that some of that monetary expense has been taken out. Outside of that, leave us a review on Apple, iTunes. Make sure it is 5 stars. I didn't check to see if we had any new ones tonight. Make sure it's 5 stars and then leave us the shittiest, meanest review that you can leave. And we'll read it out loud on air. And if you don't listen to iTunes, send us an email, bassandbrews@gmail.com. We'll read that out loud too. We want y'all to be involved. All right, tonight we have Brandon Elrod, Mr. Kayak Cushion, and we got Road Dogging Jordan Marshall. Brandon, how you doing tonight, Hoss?
Oh, it's been an awesome week, man. No complaints so far. Just working on a couple new things and growing a little bit. So, how about yourself?
Hold up. Fuck me. This is y'all's podcast. We ain't here to talk about me. A couple new things. Are these new things you can announce now, or is this some stuff that you got coming up that's top secret?
Well, it's going to be more in finalizing a couple of deals with some companies. Marshall knows I'm pretty much going to the thicker model now. It's 25% thicker. It's the Bertha. If you're running power, paddling, whatever, it's with the pressure points on the old model, because I didn't know this is where this was going to grow to. It was the first version, and I needed more padding apparently for everybody. No one's paddling anymore in our era, so running dual motors. So I've decided to beef everything up, and Made in America means a little bit bigger apparently. So that's why I decided and working on a new ergonomical design. Honestly, it's going to be a lot better for the meat and potatoes down low for the guys. I want to change the shape a little bit so you can maybe get a little bit more breathability with a shape that's going to be able to get a little airflow in there. Got a new cleaner coming out. Scrub the boat. Some stuff with maybe like a center console, so guys that are captains can put down a pad on the front of the center console, so their customers can stand on it. Since it's antimicrobial, they can pull that off the front of the boat. You know how slick the front of a center console can be, or any type of fishing vessel. So just been working on that, sweating out in the shop. So that's what I've been working on.
Yeah. I know you in East Tennessee. I'm in kind of central North Carolina, but the heat is hot down here in the South, regardless of where you are. So having some breathability will help. Not only, I'm a heftier guy, and last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, it was definitely last year. I can't remember exactly when. I bought one of those. Crap! I'm having a brain fart on who the company makes it, but I bought one of my little storage containers that goes under the Hobie seat that holds your 3700s and your stuff like
Yeah.
that. And I used to, the way I had my seat was ergonomically correct. I had everything's, and if y'all want to go listen to some ergonomic talk, go find Brandon's first episode he was on, because him and I both come from the ergonomics field, even though he has a lot more training in it, but we talked about that. So when I put that stand or container under my seat, it made me have to raise my seat because the middle of that thing is right up on my ass, and so I had to raise my seat. But even now, I've kind of worn out my old kayak cushion, and so that the Big Bertha one, the big boy one, I need to replace my current one when you get that Big Bertha one out there, because I need a little bit extra padding for my flat ass.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been working on. Is I get a lot of requests with my background and degree being in ergonomics and kinesiology and biomechanics and stuff like that. So just kind of a free thing for all the people that have supported me, y'all too, in general. I want to do some stretches, some sciatic, and some warm-ups before you get out there and do 10, 12 hours, just some stuff. Maybe some people don't have the education on, just some simple stretches that can relieve some sciatic pressure, piriformis, IT band, just some stuff that could, you can do while you're, at camp rigging up, or if you're
will you demonstrate? Will you demonstrate those now?
I will, but that's on my Patreon. It's $9.99 a month, so I just want to let you know.
He does,
but yeah.
Jordan. He only does those on his Patreon when he's in his unitard.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Ooh,
a wrestling singlet. By the way, it's a wrestling singlet, American flag wrestling singlet, like Kurt Angle back in the day. So
we got to be able to see his glutes and his sciatica areas. So he has to wear that so he can see where the stretcher is coming from. But hey, I will say this: as somebody with an ergonomic background and a physical therapist's wife, I don't stand up and fish out of my kayak much at all. The only time I pretty much stand up while I'm fishing is when I have to pee. And at the end of the day, I can tell, right? I have it set up as good as I can have it set up. The kayak cushion is an amazing addition to my kayak for helping me. But at the end of the day, you start getting a little bit of that sciatica pressure, and your feet start falling asleep a little bit. You start getting a little crampy, and being in the morning, that's good, that'll help you through. But also doing some shit during the day that can help you get some blood flow down there, doing some foot exercises, standing up, doing a little bit of squat here and there. That'd be super important to help, because I mean, the more people that are out there fishing, and Jordan won't know much about this, when you're out there fishing offshore and you're sitting down and the wind's blowing, you got all these wake boats and shit out there. It's hard to stand up sometimes, and especially with spotlight motors on your kayaks, because those things are made for boats. They're not made for these little damn plastic ass boats we're in. Those things sometimes will lose their mind and start doing the skibbity womp, and it's like riding a damn bull sometimes. And sitting in the seat, you get a damn workout because it back and forth and shit. I mean, it can be a pretty good workout on that end. I'm excited to see what you got coming out with that stuff, though, for sure.
Yeah, it's just changing something up, just seeing how people like it. I'll get to y'all, let y'all test it. I mean, that's how it all started, was getting it under the asses of guys that, like Marshall, that's logging some serious water time. I've got an old video 3 years ago of Marshall standing up in cowboy boots and Chickamauga. I mean, he don't sit that much, so I will get there. You go. So it's
steel toe cowboy boots too. He ain't out there in the regular cowboy. Steel toe, blue jeans.
Yeah, it's blue collar, but yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's just just giving a little education out there, just some stuff you can do. Like, yes, the cushion will help, and I'm not saying it's a cure all, but when someone asks a question like it didn't do something for me, like, do you do any preventive like stretching? Like, do you like 10 hours sitting in that seat? I don't care what boat you're in. It's going to lock you up, man. It's inevitable. I mean, I don't know what to tell people, but like doing some stretches and just preventive. I mean, what's the average age of guys that are doing this sport? I mean, it's not 15 to 22. It's guys that are running a motor or probably don't work out that much or stuff like that. I mean, it's just something to help out. 5-minute warm up before you go out. I mean, it's just something to help out. That way you're not miserable, because if you get fatigued on the water while you're fishing, I mean, you're just casting. You're not really, you're not really doing a technique anymore. You're just sitting there, just casting. You're not really working and trying to win anymore. So it's just something to help out.
Yeah, especially it's not even tournament guys. I mean, it's tournament guys because if they're going and practicing for a tournament, they got 3, 4, 5 days and then 2 days of fishing. Or if you're on your local trail, maybe you're out there a couple of days before your tournament, and then you're out there another 8. It's a cumulative effect. So if you're out on your boat a lot, you're going to feel that pain just from being out there on it. And then also on the flip side, if you're not out there a lot, but you do a lot of sitting at your job, if you have an office job or if you have a job where you drive a lot, that also is going to lend more towards having that sciatica pain because you're sitting all the time, and then you're not getting up, you're not getting blood flow to the lower extremities. It's just all that stuff that goes on. It's a cumulative effect. And if there's any time that you want to be free of that pain, of that soreness and all that bullshit, it's when you're out there trying to fish and have a good time. You don't want to feel like shit.
Exactly. I mean, it's from hydration to stretching to standing up, like you said, pulling your boat on the bank and getting up, walking around, just from anything. I mean, it's brutal out there. I mean, if you're doing, whether you're fishing or floating, or like you said, like, someone like Jordan logging a lot of hours, he gets accustomed to it and knows when to stand, when to pull up, like do all of that, versus someone who's, it's almost sad when they buy a boat for the family, a few of the less expensive boats, and then they're like, we just sold them on marketplace because we hate it because the seat wasn't comfortable. And you're like, man, this is all about introducing people to a sport or just getting outside. It's just like, I bought 4 boats, I hate them. It's just like, man, it sucks to hear, because it's so much fun to go on the water with your buddies or your family and just bullshit and have a good time, enjoy nature, see some birds, catch some fish, or whatever it is. It's just mental sanity. And then if someone's just uncomfortable, and if there's a cure for it, whether it's a cushion or stretches or, just knowing to get out and do something, walk around, pull up, have a cold drink, or whatever it is.
I'd like to see at some point, because I would say that the majority, I'm not going to put a number on it, but the majority of people that actually have a cushion, and a cushion that didn't come with their kayak, on their kayak, it is probably a kayak cushion. So at some point, these companies need to come to you to integrate a kayak cushion that already comes with the boat. It doesn't even have to be a cushion. It can be, I mean, it's always the cushion. The cushion is what makes the difference, right? It's the open sail. It's not having the smell. It's all the antimicrobial aspects to it. But even if it's a built-in pocket that they can slide it in and out if they need it or don't need it. Yeah, I feel like that would be them producing the seats with a kayak cushion seat already on it would be a ticket to.
Well, as you know, a lot of seat manufacturers aren't made stateside, and I will give credit to one angler, Drew Gregory. He tried to introduce that 3 years ago to a company. They all want to do it and say they want to do it, and then they try to just make their own. And I'm like, those margins are lean. I'm already offering them a price at, and I'm just trying to, I'm a small business. I make everything myself here, and it's like, hey, I'm getting asked for your brand, and I'll put it on it, and just helping you out. Your customers are happy. You can sell them yourself. I mean, Hobie was the first one on. I mean, I've got a Hobie order I'm working on tomorrow to ship out. So Hobie was the first one that really, jumped on board. Like, hey, let's do this. Put a brand on it and ship them out to us. And they've been incredible with it. I'm not saying one brand's better than the other, but Hobie was the first. I mean, they really Bonafide Native with Tyler over there. They've been really great. He's really supported it. I've talked with Old Town. We're still in discussion on it, and a couple others. There's a couple others I won't mention, but that aren't in on it, and that's okay too. But if you have 50 customers asking with your brand on it, and I'm willing to do it, it's kind of like, hey man, I'm not trying to like, you're going to make money, and I'm just trying to help you out. You know, it's a tight knit group. Y'all know this. It's y'all go to a tournament or just go paddling or whatever. You see Jordan's truck and his boat, you know who it is, versus with all the influencers and stuff. So, you know, it's one day maybe. If not, that's why I'm not on Amazon, because I like the local outfitters that you know, really support me, and that's why I don't do Amazon. They hit me up all the time, and I just don't. I try to help out the mom and pops like I've been, and like Eco Fishing Gear, they're doing some. I'm doing 100 for them. They're probably about to promote them. You know, they're with Marshall with KBN, and they reached out. We're going to do a big run with them. So you know, it's what can you do? So you can only send so many emails and have so many conversations and send samples before you're like, maybe next year. You know, so, no man, I appreciate it. That's one day, if not, you know, stadium seats right now for local football clubs, you know, boosters. That's been really, really awesome, because I tell people they see kayak cushion. I've got a new brand coming out with it, but they're like, kayak cushion. I'm like, office chair, your truck. I mean, people it's designed for just so having it started as a kayak cushion, but tell people throw it anywhere. My wife uses it for gardening. You know, that's how it works, man.
I've got mine. I've got mine in my work truck, and then when I train somebody, I move it over, because you know I got the air ride seats in my work truck, and so when I'm training somebody, I slide it over to mine, because I'm on that little thin ass cushion, and it's got the little. They're not springs, but whatever the base of you know your box truck riding seats are, digging into your hiney ass all day. I mean, it does make a big difference. And look, we got Brandon on. We're talking about seats, and people might not think it's a big deal until you actually get one and you use it and you see the difference and the difference that it makes. It changes how you feel at the end of the day. And Brandon, you mentioned something earlier too about being hydrated. Like that's another big one. Just you're drinking your water. It's hard to sometimes drink or eat. I have to force myself to eat in the summer times because I don't feel like it, and this and that, but force myself to eat. But just carry some liquid IV or some kind of electrolyte replacement and drink one of those halfway through the day. All these little things make experience throughout the day, especially when it's hot and it's the doldrums of summer. All these little things make it to where at the end of the day you just don't feel like pure T asshole.
Yeah, I mean it's everything. I mean Jordan can speak for it better than anyone of just how brutal. I mean, long days on the water. I mean, it's a lot of things. It just
I didn't realize how much I enjoyed my kayak cushion until two events. Both Hobie Worlds, I was kayak cushionless. And those are 5 straight days on the water. Sweden, we were on a great big body of water, and everybody knows how St. Clair is and can be here this past Worlds. And I didn't have kayak cushion on butt or back because I do the double whammy. And I was quite miserable by the last day of the event. It takes a lot out of you.
Yeah, I think the next one, I've been in talks. I think I want to do some American flag ones and just donate them to y'all. And just, I want to do it this year. Just got caught up with some things.
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, it's got to be there for every single angler, or you're not allowed to use it. That's the rule. Yeah, you gotta. Everybody's got to have one. So if that's something you're looking at, then they probably should all just say Hobie, and you know,
that's not a bad idea. Maybe I can get with Hobie. I appreciate
that was literally the explanation we got was everybody has to have the same access to it, because somebody brought up, can I use a kayak cushion? They said not unless you brought one for everybody.
Okay.
So
yeah,
they try to make Worlds a level playing field as they can.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
That's interesting.
That's fascinating.
I mean, it makes sense though. You know, you won't at least on the boat side. Obviously, they're not. You're talking about from the boat side. You're not talking about from the gear and the lures and stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah.
But from the boat side, that makes sense. Well, there you go, man. That's a big opportunity right there. Get
Well,
up
once
with
again,
cat cushions on
congratulations,
Hobie.
Jordan, on doing that again, man. That's incredible, man, to represent like that. That's always follow up on it and watch it, man. That's pretty cool. It's fun to see.
Yeah, that's absolutely one of the coolest experiences of my life, let alone just fishing in general. That's one of the coolest experiences I've ever had both times. I'm really excited. I've got one more qualification. So I'm actually gonna get to go back one more time, pending if I ever qualify again. But I've got at least one more qualification. So I'm ecstatic and excited to run that back one more time.
That's awesome. That's it's so cool to see, man. It seems like an unbelievable event. So I always look to see the post.
It's
Just
one of those things I wish
people.
everybody could do.
Where's it next year? What the
They haven't released it. The kind of rumors that we were hearing were South Korea or Australia, which would be dope, right? I mean, Australia they say is the best place for Worlds just because they have so much stuff to do there, and just they kind of make a full festival out of it. South Korea would obviously be really cool. We've never had a Worlds there. South Korea would just be completely culture shock. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I ain't never going to South Korea unless there's a Worlds there. You know what I mean? I'm never going to go to South Korea. That's just facts, right?
It's way down here on the list of like vacation spots.
You talk about being out of place. I show up there and with all this hair and beard and walk around. I mean, that I'd be like Dennis Rodman walking in North Korea. You know what I mean? Not quite that much different, but it would be something. You know what I mean? But the other thing we hinted around, heard about I'm curious if the local mayor in Tecumseh, Ontario, may have spilled the beans of hair. They kind of shot it down pretty quick. That was just something we were talking about, but something else that is a possibility, at least they have reached out to, is possibly going to Italy next year.
That'd be sick.
And regardless where we end up going, my mom and dad and my girlfriend Michaela are already like ready to go. We're all going to go. I was super thankful and blessed that my mom and dad got to go to Canada and witness kind of the reward for me just running all over the country the last 8 years of trying to qualify for that. So to be able to experience that with them, and that was really, really special to me. So
yeah, man, it's cool to see. I mean, you should be ecstatic. I mean, that's an insane accomplishment to get to do. It's like you were saying that about your girlfriend and family. It's like, yeah, for Bassmaster next year in Dallas, my wife's in there like planning the week-long trip to go down there, for me working the whole time. It's like, yeah, it's all fun and games whenever you're like you being stressed over catching fish and they're like, we're going to do all this stuff, it's just hilarious.
Your wife is going to go to the Bassmaster Classic with you, Brandon. You're going to put her ass to work, and that's going to be the last classic she goes to.
She didn't go to Tulsa this year, and I told her, I was like, you didn't miss much in Tulsa.
Oh, did she? Okay.
Say that. It ain't Knoxville. Knoxville, I'll say this. Knoxville's Bassmaster knocks it out of the park, man. That is –
Knoxville's the best Bassmaster Classic location, in my opinion. And I know I'm a little biased because I'm not far from Knoxville, but I would have to imagine most people that work that or are involved with that have to agree that is one of the absolute best Bassmaster Classic locations.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be back in a couple of years for sure.
Well, speaking of Jordan Marshall, y'all have heard him talk on here. He's been on the podcast numerous times. He's been a guest. He's been a guest co-host. He has won championships all over the Southeast in clubs. He has wrecked it on all the national trails all over the country. He started a podcast beginning of this year, end of last year, Road Dogging. For those that aren't watching, he's showing his Road Dogging logo behind him. He's got the Bass Nation Angler of the Year 2023 trophy over there to his left. We got Jordan Marshall on here. Everybody should know who his name is if they follow any kind of national fishing tournament trails. Jordan, what's going on with you, man? How you doing?
I'm happy, hot and happy and hanging out. I'm Triple H tonight.
So Brandon's in his house. We know he's got the AC on. Everything's nice and cool. Are you in the outdoor shop? Do you have air conditioner in the shop outside?
There is not an air conditioner. There is a fan that I've had for a very, very long time blowing on me across. It's stretched. The cord's as stretched out as it can go, but it's still every now and then I'll get a trickle of air blowing on me. I'm about to take my shirt off, but
oh shit, our views on YouTube would go up like crazy if you start taking shit off.
Oh, I thought this was audio only. Oh man, I'm keeping my shirt on.
It's $9.99 a month if anyone's asking.
Look, what people don't know though is he showed his boots earlier, but he has nothing between his boots and his shirt. There's nothing. He's butt ass naked. He's got some steel toe work boots on. He's got a shirt and a hat on, and that's it. So he can't stand up. If he has to go tinkle, he's going to have to scoot away in his chair, so we don't see his big white ass.
That's a Maryville tuxedo right there.
Yeah, something like that. Blount County finest.
So Jordan, you just got done fishing the Susquehanna, and you finished. Well, I think it was 7th, right?
I finished 8th out of 224.
8th. That's a good finish. And, hey, our good buddy #pro Eric Nelson finished 3rd. What did he finish? 3rd or 4th?
Yeah, Eric finished 4th. Eric Thomason finished 4th.
Man, that's a good show. And tell us a quick little rundown on your Susky, because it really sets up for what you like to do. You know, fishing shallow and fishing fast and fishing hard.
Yeah, no need for electronics at Susky. I pretty well knew what I was going to do going up there, so I worked most of the week. Left Thursday when I got off work at about 2:30. Drove straight from work to Susquehanna. Got there, practiced about 3-ish hours, and had 92 inches on Friday, all on Chapo. And I actually just finished a little Bassmaster recap on that. But spoiler alert, I was throwing a black Chapo, which it sounds like a lot of people were. And I basically I caught a couple fish on random baits, but all my 10 fish in the event were on the black Chapo. All my fish basically practice was everywhere I went and wanted to throw something at something. I got bit. Those fish were not really. They ate everything in practice, honestly. Wanted to focus on the grass islands first thing in the morning. It started out a hair slow, but all my fish on the first day pretty much came at grass islands on the downriver side of grass islands, throwing the Chapo. Had one fish pull my stock split ring off. Just pulled it out. So I basically was very cognizant of my stuff, my terminal stuff the rest of the weekend. I put owner hyperwire split rings on the Chapo, put owner ST36s on everything. And really, outside of that, I think I lost one quality fish the rest of the day and a half of the tournament. And if anybody knows anything about that place, it's not getting big bites, it's landing big bites. There's lots of videos of guys posting up their clips from the event of losing big fish, and that happens a lot there. There's no shortage of getting bites. It's making sure fish hook up and making sure you're landing those fish. And yes, sir, Mr. Paul.
All right, I got a question on this. So I've never fished a Susky, but having talked to a bunch of people, we had Jake Harshman on, and that episode dropped the Friday before the tournament. I've talked to a lot of people that have fished it, obviously watch a lot of you folks' YouTubes and social media content on them. And that's the biggest thing is those fish up there are just a different animal. They're in moving water. So you got the current, you got big, heavy, strong fish. Why a Chapo? Why treble bait instead of going with something like a buzzbait or a spinnerbait that has that single hook where, because you think about it, a lot of people don't like fishing topwater treble baits because of the loss that you potentially have from them jumping off versus going with a spinnerbait or going with a buzzbait with that single big hook that you can maybe pin them. Why did you go with a Chapo versus a buzzbait?
My thought is normally I start with what they will eat the most aggressively. And at certain places, I would kind of get down into a section of the river, especially on Sunday where they weren't eating the Chapo that well. And a lot of the times when they're not eating baits aggressively, you can throw a Cinco in there. And I was targeting some of those same fish on day 2 around the grass islands with a Cinco, and they would pick up a Cinco and run off with it. You'd set the hook and it would come out. So my thought is if I'm going to get bites, I'm going to get the aggressive fish, and I try to stay out of the areas that have the ridiculous amount of pressure on them. Now, obviously, you can't do that always. Saturday was fairly easy. I mean, if they ate that thing, they ate it. And my thought process is if I got 6 hooks on a bait, that's better than just having 1 hook, because they will short strike. Especially, I've noticed it with a spinnerbait up there. They'll try to eat the blades. They'll try to eat the back of the trailer. I like throwing, just bladed jigs up there a lot of the times, and a lot of times you'll like set the hook on a fish and get it about halfway to the boat, and it comes off and your tail's ripped off. So those fish will short strike a lot of baits, and if I can throw something that if they come up and try to swipe at a bait, they'll get hooked in the side, and that's why I'm so particular about having my treble hooks fresh and new, because they're just, I can keep them sharp. Normally I run, I want to say, I don't know the exact ST number of the owners, but I like having Zoe wire. They come in a green package, and I feel like that I get a little better hookup with those. But those fish thrash so much once you get them in the net. Sometimes the Zoe wire will break in the net just because they're a different material. They're a different metal or whatever that they use for those hooks. I think they get a little better hookup and you can land them. But if those fish are thrashing around the net, those hooks get all wrapped up in the net and they break. So you end up swapping more hooks. So I like the ST36s because they'll bend a little bit. So if you do get them in the net and you can kind of see, hey, I can bend that back, or I need to replace it, or whatever else, and I don't feel like I'm swapping hooks as much. Now I will definitely swap out hooks when I'm up there, treble hooks, at least twice a day, put fresh ones on when I get off the water, because I literally think that is one of the biggest differences up there, is trying to make sure you can get a hook in the side. Because I mean, there'll be a handful of fish every day you catch that you're bringing them in and they're hooked, outside the mouth. And it's, since we're not bed fishing, it's not an issue because those fish are coming up and they're swiping at it. A lot of times you'll be working that choppo up there and it'll blow it out of the water, and you'll literally, your choppo will come out of the water over a foot, and you'll just you just reel it a little faster, and they come up and start chasing it, almost like saltwater fish do. And they just get super, I don't know if it's territorial, just get locked onto something, they will just eat it. So I prefer having something, as long as they are going after it, that's got the 2 treble hooks on it. Now, the years that we went up there where the bite's a little more lethargic, I'll break down and throw smaller stuff and throw Senkos and stuff like that, where it kind of gives us fish some time to bite down on something. But I try to get away with trying to catch the most aggressive fish. And what I did on Sunday was, when those fish weren't on the grass islands, and a lot of the guys, you saw a lot of guys that had 98 and 97 and whatever else struggle on day 2, because I feel like those fish moved off the grass islands and kind of moved a little bit just because of the pressure. And those fish might have been there, they just might not have ate as well or whatever else. But I know the fish that I caught on Sunday, 4 of my 5 came off just very, very shallow laydowns and shade and shoots and stuff. And I caught 1 fish on a grass island. It was my very last fish of the tournament. It was 19 and a half, biggest fish I caught all week. And it was just kind of random on some grass islands that I think everybody overlooked.
So you said
the rear split ring? That was my question. Which split ring did you blow?
Which split ring?
That's insane.
It was probably just whatever was stock on the choppo, honestly. I'm pretty good about replacing hooks just because I have so many of those owner hooks, but I'm sometimes bad about leaving stock split rings on. I took a picture of it because I was like, dude, that is nuts, right?
Was it the back one or was it the front?
It was the back one, yeah.
That's wild, man. That's a cool story, dude. That'd be like a painting I'd like to see of, like, dude, just blowing out a split ring on a small, like. I didn't know it's that common to change out your trebles.
Either this a bass.
I don't know how everybody else does. Are we there?
Yeah,
I'm here.
You were saying that you don't know what everybody else does.
Yeah, I don't know how everybody else is swapping out treble hooks and stuff. I'm just, certain things I'm super, not OCD about, but I'm much more adamant about replacing some stuff than others. And I'm bad about that in most events, if we're being honest. But I was trying to find that bent out choppo, but
that's wild. That's a wild.
I had a fish on Sharon Harris in the May, 1st of June. I can't remember, somewhere around in there. It was a monster. It was a giant. It hit a Rico that's fishing in like 8 foot of water over a little brush pile, and it came out and smacked it, and I couldn't do shit to it. I was trying to pedal towards it, and it was just running, and it bent. Yeah, holy shit.
That's insane, man.
That's nuts. This fish ended up, and I had, you know, the Ricos have decent hooks on them, and I probably should have changed them out because I caught a lot of fish on it. And I'm like you, I usually, like, I do a lot of crankbait fishing, a lot of topwater fishing, and I change my, if I catch a catfish, I usually change the hooks that were in that fish's mouth out, just because. Good. Anyway, this I should have changed it out. I didn't. I don't know. This fish was probably 8-10. It was massive. It was huge, and it bent that shit out and came off. It pissed me off so bad. All right, so you said that on the Susky, it's not about getting the big bites. It's about landing the big bites you get. So you're fishing
if
the
you're
Chapo,
in the right area, you're getting big bites. That's
right.
I mean, me,
and
Russ,
we're talking
Christine,
18 to
and Drew.
20s.
Yeah, 18. If you're going to be competitive, I mean, a 17-incher is not super competitive most years up there. I mean, this time I would boat flip a 17 and not even put it on the board and just flop it back in the water. It was nuts. But I mean, there were definitely pockets where guys were doing well. Me, Russ, Christine, and Drew, and Brandon Palmer from Ohio, we were all in the same area.
So what's your line, reel, and rod set up with that Chapo that you're using? I've heard a lot of people say when they go to the Susky, they upgrade their line to usually braid. They're using heavier rods. You know, what's your setup? Is your setup on that Chapo you were using this past weekend the same that you would use for a Chapo in Tennessee, or did you upgrade your line? How were you throwing it? What were you throwing it on?
I've got a pretty standard Chapo, whopper plopper, whatever setup. Up here, I probably put it on a little bit heavier rod than I would normally do it, just because those fish get in that current and they're kind of harder to deal with. But I know a lot of guys like throwing mono for top waters and stuff, but the Chapo is going to sit high regardless. I like throwing braid just because I don't feel like I get as much line twist. I probably had way too heavy of a braid, honestly, just because I took that off of like a buzz bait and a frog rod and just smacked her on there. I don't know if that's like 65 or what, but I didn't need that much braid, but that's what we had handy. So that's what we use. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, we weren't going to take a bunch of fresh braid off to put some other braid on.
Yeah,
waste $25 in braid.
I run what I brung. You know what I mean? But I had 7.5 to ratio reel, and then I had braided line, Chapo with the upgraded hooks, and I throw all that on a heavy, like a deep diving crankbait rod, basically. So it's got the backbone to kind of handle big fish, but it's got enough tip designed for treble hook. So I kind of treat it as a big crankbait instead of more of a traditional top water that's got flimsier rod tip.
So do you run two different size treble hooks on the Chapo when you upgrade, or do you run the same size?
I run both twos. I don't know what's supposed to be on it, but I run both twos. That's what I like, and just kind of I don't know.
I didn't know if you liked if you had a different hookup ratio with a little bit more weight on the rear versus the front or something. I mean, sounds like you know a little bit about the upgrading of the hooks on these things, man.
I don't get too crazy with the weight or whatever that is. I don't know what size hooks come off of it. I just know when I first started upgrading trebles was when I was at Seminole a few years ago. There's a really, really awesome bite in a window on Seminole where they just absolutely gag a Chapo and a whopper plopper. And you learn very quickly that at a place like Seminole, where a bunch of those fish are 18 to 22, and you can hook something bigger than that you better have some upgraded equipment up there, or down there, I should say. And I started swapping out to number twos. There's a handful of different ones. Like I said, I normally, if I'm on a fishery that, a largemouth fishery, then I'll normally put some some of the Zoe wire owners on there, just because I think the hookup ratio is better, or even at home for smallmouth. I'm more of a Zoe wire guy, but up there, those fish are just so angry that even when you get them in the net, they start flopping around and everything. And when that hook gets wrapped up in the net, there's just nowhere to go. So the weakest link gets broken. So, and that's basically designed to do that. That's, it is what it is. But that's, for the most part, and I would use the same rod, deep diving crankbait rod for fish at like Seminole. But that's one of the first things I normally do at the bare minimum is swap treble hooks out on all my top waters to owner stuff, and just kind of be cognizant. I try to take and eat something during the day, whatever time. If I get frustrated early, then I'll go ahead and swap some stuff out. Or if it's getting hot, then I'll eat something as I'm motoring around spots to try to make a late day move, and I'll normally swap out hooks as I'm motoring, and eat a Sammy or a wrap, and drink a little Powerade, Gatorade, whatever I end up buying at the gas station at 4:30 in the morning, and just go from there. But I'm a big braid guy. If I can get away with the braid, I like using the braid. But really the only thing I won't throw braid on is just a chatterbait or any bladed jig. I like fluorocarbon for that and some other stuff. But if I can get away with braid, I try to.
One of the fish on a Chapo, man. That's a cool.
I think I caught 75 fish on the Chapo in 3 days.
Did you ever bend your Chapo? Did you have to change Chapos at any point?
No, I've actually been using that Chapo. Basically, I might have been throwing that Chapo last year at Susky.
That's one of the things that I found. I started off with a whopper plopper, and I'd catch a few fish, and it would bend the back little propeller, and it would be run straight. And so I switched over to a Chapo. Yeah, that thing's well out. I switched over to a Chapo, and what I found between the two was that the Chapo didn't get the bend on that back little propeller. Throughout
you
the fish, so you didn't have to fool with it as much.
If you're throwing a whopper plopper, you definitely have to do some little bit more bending on that inner wire that kind of holds everything together. You have to bend it more. And honestly, I think it is it just in full disclosure for me, whopper plopper versus Chapo is very similar to jackhammer versus thunder cricket, because I legitimately think that some fisheries like a sound better or like a vibration better, and I think pressured fish eat a Chapo better than a whopper plopper, and I think pressured fish eat a thunder cricket better than a jackhammer, because I've had numerous times where day one versus day two on fisheries, and I've noticed this actually on Seminole, just the same as Susky, where like day one you can catch them on a jackhammer, and then on day two they won't touch it. You throw a thunder cricket in there, and they'll just absolutely whack it for some reason. So, and I thought it was coincidence for a little bit, but I think they're so similar, but just different enough that you can get a little bit of different vibration, and those fish recognize the difference for some reason.
What makes you want to switch a different brand of a same lure when they're not? So if you're throwing the jackhammer and they're not biting it, what makes you want to switch to a different brand versus switching to a whole different lure? Is it because of the way you fish, or because they were biting the jackhammer? They should be biting another bladed jig. What is the reasoning behind staying with the same lure but a different brand versus changing to a whole different presentation?
Yeah, I mean it's no secret. I'm a big bladed jig guy. I can cover water with it. I am not the best angler at targeting lethargic fish like most guys do offshore. They're basically making fish bite. I'm looking for active fish, or I'm looking for fish that are opportunistic. And if I can cover water, then I'm looking for opportunistic fish. If I'm in an area, then I'm basically waiting for those fish to fire. And sometimes a little bit of difference. If I know fish are there and I've put my time in practice, if it's area that I can have confidence in an area, then I can make subtle changes to baits because I've got confidence the fish are there and I can spend more time there. And that's a lot of times why I have this kind of road runner mentality that people know me for, because, you know, if I get to a spot and I know fish should be eating there and they're just not, and nothing seems to be happening, and I've thrown and kind of cycled through a handful of baits that I've either done well on in practice, or I know those fish should be eating based on a pattern for the time of year, then I can just load up and go somewhere else and try to find active fish, and, you know, maybe that aren't as beat up, that don't have the pressure, or maybe that just have the right ingredients for that specific day, whether it's, you know, just fishing a pattern a little further up river or up lake, that might just have the certain ingredients I'm trying to find.
This is a little bit going back a little bit too. I know that a lot of people won't think about what net are you using, because there is nothing more frustrating than fishing a topwater or a crankbait or anything with treble hooks, and you get the fish netted, and then you got the fish in there, you mouth, and now you got 6 hooks intertangled and stuck in your damn net, and like you spend 10 minutes getting the fucking hook before you even get to get your fish on the board. So what net are you using? Or are you using the cheap ass net where you just got to fiddle fart around with it at some point? Like, explain to us what net you're using, because I just upgraded my net this year, and it has been probably one of the best purchases. I can't remember the fucking name of the net off the top of my head. But anyway, it was $100 net, and I almost threw up when I bought it. But I fish a lot of crankbaits. I fish a lot of topwater. And since I've had that net, I've probably spent 2 hours of my time less getting hooks out of the stupid net after I get the fish in. So what net are you using?
I was a big proponent of a company called RS Nets when they first came out. They were really popular kind of in the kayak scene. I think they're really popular up north for like walleye and muskie and stuff like that. They make some really big nets. But I lost my RS net in Oklahoma one time, and it just popped out as I was going down the road. Never did find it. There was a bunch of anglers there. I think somebody stole it and took the mojo from the net. Can't prove it, but I've had a bunch of different nets since then. The net I have now, I've had for right at a year, about a year and a month. And the reason I remember that is because I went to Susky last year for July 4th. Me and Ewing and a couple of his Carson Newman buddies went to Susky, and we were catching them on every single thing we threw. And obviously we were throwing topwater if they're going to eat it, just because it's so much fun. And I was boat flipping fish and having an angry 19-inch smallmouth in your kayak with you flopping with treble hooks that are sharp and new is a really, really bad idea. So we went to Bass Pro and I bought a net from Bass Pro Shop, and I've got a love-hate relationship with that net. It's held together by camo duct tape, and it's got a giant dent in the hoop where I knocked a fish off one time and I smacked it against my kayak. So it's got this dent in the side of the hoop. But honestly, I fight treble hooks way longer than I should. Normally, I don't have too much issue with it because, you know, I'm not catching as many fish as I did at Susky. So I fought that net a little bit. But most of the time, if I put a fish in the net with treble hooks, I get it out or get the hook out of the fish's mouth, and then I just throw the net up on the front with the treble hooks all wrapped up in it, and just go ahead and get the fish back in the water, and then I'll fight with treble hooks.
Yeah, see, I use my net to hold the fish while I get my board and my phone, everything set up. So I always try to get my hooks out before, because then I hang the net across. And I used to use, I call it the Greg Blanchard net, but it's the cheap little that you get from, you put the PVC pipe on it and glued it on. And I had that net for 3.5 years, and I loved it. It was good. It was awesome. But all the areas where it was sewn together on the net was a fabric, and that's where all the hooks used to get hung into that fabric. And then it finally broke, so I had to go off and get a new one. And I was like, I'm actually getting a net now that doesn't have any fabric in the net. But this net I got now is a heavy ass sumbitch, man. That thing pisses me. was so damn heavy trying to reach out hoop on it than that other one. But I've learned to be able to net the fish just as good. I don't have to deal with the treble hooks. But yeah, but look, if I'm not on a tournament, that bitch comes off by the boat. If it's a 10-pounder, I'm gonna cuss and cry. But I ain't taking no net with me unless it's a damn tournament time. Because fuck that net. It's in the way. These things, it just sucks. It just sucks.
Dude, I went to from Steve-O. I went that hockey stick Twiglets, man. That thing is with a 40-inch handle. It's the best net I've ever had. It is.
Mine's got the adjustable handle. I need to go. I'll go look at it at some point tonight. But mine's got an adjustable handle, and I got that because I'm in a PA 14. So when I catch a fish, I lay it perpendicular to the kayak where it's hanging off the left side, and I put the fish in there and let it be in the water while I'm getting my shit together. And so I like that long handle because it has less of a chance of falling off and me losing it like I almost did the last tournament. But anyway.
Yeah, the best is when you have those cheap nets and you end up getting it wrapped in that fabric and you get the pliers out and you end up cutting them with a needle nose and you just end up with a hole in your net by the end of the tournament.
Look, you can put a bunch of holes in that net before it's before you're like, I'm not sure if this is going to hold one. But I use my net as a push pole. Like I carry my paddles with me just because I've got a motor and I got pedals. I still carry a paddle with me, but the net's right there. So I use as a push pole. Like that net, a lot of different things. If I got to go up to a lay down and pull myself to it to get something or whatever, like that net comes in handy for a lot of different things. So I put it through its works, and for that little cheap ass Greg Blanchard modification foamy net to hold up as long as it did, I got my money's worth out of it. But Brandon, you went fishing today. Did you say you were fishing on a paddleboard? Yeah,
that's my minimalist now, man. On instead of lugging out the trailer and getting the PA out, I like to I'm getting into kind of a little fly fishing for smallmouth. I live right below Chickamauga Dam, so fly rod on a paddleboard, kind of cool, man. Just something different, It's a whole different bite, man. So something different, back to the old good old days.
Do you have?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a deck of kayak cushions that you stand on, or do you have one that you sit on, or you you just raw dogging the damn paddleboard like a monster?
I take a cushion with me, and I'll either knees if it gets nasty out there, like wakeboarding boats, wake surf, But yeah, man, it's something different to get back to some of the basics, like if you want to get good at jig fishing, taking only a jig box and only a jig rod, and just breaking some old habits. I know he's a bladed jig guy. Like it's real easy to pull out them bladed jigs sometimes whenever you're like, I'm going to go out today and just work on a topwater bite, and like, man, fuck it, let's get something else out. This ain't working. So it's just something different, man. It's Tennessee River and Chickamauga, it gets smoked, man. So just any type of different presentation is fun. It's just something different. How it goes.
I'm surprised you
when Blade Jig came out, people were like, he's crazy.
Yeah, they bit every fishing. I'm surprised you got to go fishing. Last time we had you on, you're like, man, I don't even get to fish anymore.
Yeah, I fish mostly during the winter, it seems like these days, man. But Susky was actually on my schedule for this year. It was kind of like my one. Like, I don't get to chase the tournaments like I would like to anymore. But I'm going to get up there because the stories are just – he's breaking split rings on smallmouth. Come on, dude. Like, if that doesn't give you nightmares at night about what you're doing, so –
When the water's right up there, it's not going fishing, it's going catching.
It was bad last year, right? Wasn't it shallow or what generated or something?
Yeah. It was 2 years ago when Ewing and Nolan caught them really well, and they caught them on the bug. They would not eat anything.
The cicada.
Yeah, they caught them on the bug, and they would just not eat anything moving that year. It seemed like, at least for me, it was very tough.
There's another tournament up there this weekend, isn't there?
There is a Drew Gregory kayak adventure series. I think maybe this weekend or next weekend. It's very soon.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I just saw some posts about that. It's on the northern end. That don't mean shit to me.
Yeah,
so it sounds like it's not on the end. I don't think it was where y'all could fish this weekend, was
the
it?
bottom of the boundaries for the Kayak Adventure series were the very top of the boundary for Bassmaster, so there was no overlap.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that's good for pressure.
Yeah, apparently you can have like 200 fish days up there where he's going. Apparently there may not be as much size, but the numbers are even better than the section that we fished.
Huh. Interesting.
Man, it sounds like they need to keep and eat some of those.
Maybe.
Damn, y'all ass ain't gonna laugh at that shit. I thought somebody was gonna say. Well, see, if Alex would have been here, he would have laughed at that joke about eating smallmouth on the Susquehanna.
Yeah, there's a section of the Susky you can't even keep fish on at all. There's no keeping of smallmouth on whatever trophy section of that river is. I think it's maybe a little bit where we were, but I know it's further south of where our boundaries were for sure. So,
what do you have coming up next?
I couldn't hear you. Cut out. What'd you say?
Go ahead, Brandon. What were you saying?
I'm just saying, man, blowing out split rings up there on bites, dude. That's got to be just an insane tournament, man. Like, I mean, you know where I'm at. It's just go out there and get goose eggs some days and catch some 12s and 14s and 15s. And I know it's a long drive. How long was the drive?
It's about 10 hours. We'll say 9.5.
Oh my God, man! Any problems driving up there?
And you made that on a Thursday after work, just to get.
Yeah, I did it on a Thursday after work, and then drove up there. Got there at 1 o'clock in the morning. Slept about 5 hours, or I probably slept 6 or 7 hours. I slept in on practice because I wasn't super worried about it. And then after we got off the water Sunday, I actually texted Steve-O like halfway through the tournament, and I was like, I pretty well knew I had like 90 inches pretty early. I was in like second place at like 10 o'clock, and I texted Steve and I said, "Are awards mandatory?" And he said, "No, but they're appreciated." And I said, "Well," I said, "I appreciate you because I'm going home." And I left basically as soon as I got off the water. I gave Eric back a ride to his truck where he floated down from, and then I just road dogged it straight home. Got home at like 11 o'clock or something like that, or 11 o'clock ish, and then went to bed and woke up, went to work.
Picked up trash Monday morning. That's a baller. Baller's gonna ball.
Yep, check my PayPal. It was in the PayPal quite early and soon, and happy good weekend.
Dude, that's insane, man.
What do you have coming up next, Jordan?
I've got some stuff to test out and kind of play with. I'm working on some new stuff. I'm not talking about it before you even ask, but I'm playing with some stuff that I've kind of helped work on, and I'm probably just going to go piddle Saturday and play with some new stuff. I mean, basically from all the way through, everything I'm going to go play with Saturday is all new from hand to lure. Just kind of play with some stuff and just go somewhere I like and kind of have a fun fishing day. My girlfriend gets home from her kind of work trip. She's been gone for about 2 weeks up in Michigan. So we're going to hang out with her family Saturday and have a nice chill weekend. And as far as next tournament, I do not know off the top of my head. I'm trying to decide between going to Caddo or going back to Susky because there's a native event at Susky the same weekend as Caddo. But looking here at the schedule, I think the next thing I've legitimately got, we've got a Tennessee Bass Nation at the Holston, the French Broad, like right beside my house, within an hour, which is super close for me. So I finished, I think, second in that event last year and kind of feel like a little bit of a home turf there. So I got to go defend. And other than that, it's pretty chill for the most part, other than I got one more Hobie that I'm definitely going to fish at Chick. I'm not going to Saginaw. Other than that, it's kind of winding down. I should be qualified for the TOC, so I'll be kind of close to your neck of the woods, Paul, and Santee Cooper. That's about as close as I get. I don't like going to North Carolina because it punches me in the gut every time I go over there.
Well, look, the only lakes that the big trails fish though is pretty much Norman, and Norman is it's it's not indicative of the area that I live in, because where I live in, we really don't have spots. Ours, the three big lakes that we have here are largemouth lakes. I mean, you might catch a spot here and there, but I don't even know if it's a real spot. I mean, it's they're largemouth lakes, but they're so much smaller. Like you can't put 200 kayaks on Jordan or Falls. It would be packed. So we, unfortunately, those big tournaments we can't have in my neck of the woods. But man, I mean, July, Falls in Jordan in July, we're taking 28, 30 pounds to win tournaments.
That's insane.
July. And July was one of the hottest months we've ever had on record. They were having Tuesday and Thursday nighters on Jordan and Falls. 3 fish tournaments where it was taking 17, 18 pounds to win. 3 fish tournaments. I mean, it's so, those lakes, Jordan, was set up a lot more to what you like to do, but we just can't we can't have that kind of pressure. So it's typically when we talk about in the kayak scene, typically Norman is where those go, which Norman's fun. I mean, you can go out there and catch some big ass damn spots and catch a lot, but Norman's completely different. It's clear water. Our 3 lakes here, if you have 8 inches, 10 inches of visibility, that's clear. I mean, that's a good day for water. It's just a whole different ball game. But unfortunately, we just can't sustain big tournaments here. I mean, Sharon Harris, we've had 70 people on Sharon Harris before, and you're pretty much the whole day on that lake. Of course, it was pretty much everybody's fishing shallow. But yeah, when is it October? Y'all going to be at P for Hobie?
What was the last part of that? October what?
Is the Hobie on Santee and
the Hobie at Santee, the Tournament of Champions, is the second weekend in November. I think it's like the 8th through the 10th or something like that.
Okay. Yeah,
and
see,
I think we fished
unless,
like.
Go ahead and finish.
I think it's like the middle of the week that we're there. I don't have that on my schedule for some reason, but it's like I think we fished Thursday or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for that. So hopefully we can.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, Brandon's got to roll real quick. We do have a little bit more time for Jordan and I sign off of here, so we'll let Brandon. Brandon, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's always good to catch up. Tell us. For the folks that are listening that don't know who you are, hadn't heard of you, which there shouldn't be many, where can they find you? How do they reach out to you? How they buy a kayak cushion? What's the process in going if they want a special cushion with their own logo and shit?
Yeah, so
tell
on
us
all
how
the
we can do that.
platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Kayak Cushion. You can email me at kayak.cushion@gmail.com if you want a custom one. Better the artwork, the better the quality is going to turn out. Jordan's had great artwork. Paul, your artwork was great too. So any questions, please reach out. Whoever answers is going to be me. So, if you want to figure out your firmness, usually tell me your height and weight. I can usually point you in the right direction, try to get you out there. And even if you don't think you need one, more than happy to help out with, once again, when the stretches and exercises go out. Man, it's just about enjoying the water. I know it sounds like some hippie vibe, but I know y'all enjoy it too, man. So, yeah, anytime anyone's got a question, feel free to reach out. I know Jordan has them on his boat. I'm sure he'd let you sit on it and try
Absolutely.
it out.
So, I got the Bertha. I got a custom Bertha that I sit on, and then I've got another one. I think it's firm. That's on my back. I've had kayak cushions probably for the last 5 years or so. Is that about how long you've been making these? I feel like I got one fairly early in the program.
You had one of the first gens, man. That's about 5 years. It took me 2 years before that to come out with the patented process and all that good stuff. So Yeah,
I've still got that original one too. It stays in the back of my truck when I try to get stuff out of my. I've got a deck system in my truck and a camper top. So when I climb up on my tailgate and start looking through stuff and on top of my deck system that's fallen and slid around back there, I've got a kayak cushion that I keep back there just so I can put my knees on that, just so I can crawl up in there so it don't tear my knees
well, I
up.
appreciate it, man. Yeah,
You
it's
need to retire that one, Jordan, and hang it on the wall behind you, and get a new one for your knee pad in the truck. Since you got a first gen one, that's going to be a collector's item here in 15.
Yeah, I got the KVD sign one from Red Crest over here in the office, so that one's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool. That's the one I really enjoy. You know, he's actually been pretty cool with the kayak upgrades. You know, you'd think opposite, but he was like, "Man, it's cool. What's going on with it?" You know, so yeah, that's where you can reach out to me, and I'm sure y'all would answer questions and point me in the right direction. And guys, it's been awesome having a conversation with y'all, and I appreciate the time.
Yeah, man, thanks for coming on. If y'all need a Y'all Look or a Bass and Brews podcast, he already has the templates for that stuff. So just reach out and ask for one, and he can make one for you. Brandon, appreciate you coming on, man. It's always good to catch up and talk to you. Appreciate you what you've done for all the fat asses out here that use kayak cushion and
Yeah, man.
and need help with our backs. We appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man. Everybody enjoy your time, and look forward to listening to this, man. Take care.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, buddy.
See you, Jordan. See you, Paul.
Man, I didn't know you had a first gen. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty neat to have one from the old school days.
I might even have 2 first gens. Honestly, I don't know how old 2 of those are, but I've got I think I've got 5 kayak cushions. I got one that sits over there at my desk, kind of when I'm tinkering with tackle. I've got 2 that stay in my truck, one in the truck, one out of the truck, and then I've got 2 on the kayak. So I've got the 2 that stay in my truck are kind of like extras in case I take somebody, or if somebody forgets theirs, or if I forget mine or something like that. I keep I keep the kayak cushions. I am well versed in the kayak cushion world.
Hey, have you qualified for Bass TOC?
The classic.
Yeah, classic.
I should be in.
You know what I mean.
I think they released the points today, and I think I'm in 14th, and I think they take the top 50 that haven't qualified from top 5s in events. So, I know there's a few people ahead of me in that 13 or so people that are ahead of me that are already qualified from top 5. So, that's I don't know if I'm going to go to the classic. It's just I'm looking at days off and stuff, and I don't particularly like fishing in Texas early in the year. So I don't know. I may not go to the classic. There's a bunch of fun stuff, you know, with Worlds. You know, I get 3 weeks of vacation, and if we go somewhere like South Korea or Australia or Italy, then I'm going to take 2 weeks off for that. 1 week for the tournament, and 1 week just to explore. Especially if we go to Italy, Australia, just to, you know, explore and look around and all that. So. A majority of my vacation will be with that, and then obviously, you know, kind of planning on TOC every year, since that's, you know, one of the bigger events in our sport. It's kind of moved to the middle of the week now, so there's basically my whole vacation tied up in 2 tournaments. So there's kind of an odd man out, and if it's the classic, then, you know, that just kind of is one of those things where
especially in an area you know, got to choose.
Yeah, and
being able to do that. That brings up a good point too.
It's so far too. You know what I mean? Like Central Texas is, you know, a solid 12-hour drive, and you know I've went down there twice this year and left Thursday when I got off work and drove to Texas, practiced on Friday, fished Saturday, Sunday, and then I literally was in this past go around for Not Right Patman because I did a photo shoot the week after. But the one before that, I think we were at Sam Rayburn for Hobie to kind of start the year, the second event. I was literally in Texas still at like 5 p.m. Central Time, and I drove all night home to make it back to work on Monday morning. I think
just
I slept for an hour.
Yeah,
It was it was really rough. And to do something like that, it's one thing if I take one day off on a Friday to do that, but it's a whole nother to basically, I mean, the classic takes up a whole week because, I mean, our tournament is on a Wednesday, and it just makes it really tough. I mean, I got to take a whole week off work just to fish one day, and to me, the classic's cool and all, but if I'm picking and choosing, the TOC is still kind of a bigger thing in my mind, at least for now. Just on my, not, for the sport, if you can talk about the classics, probably more important for the sport, with us walking across the stage. And I get that. I'm not, being negative towards the classic at all. I just, as far as what I want to fish, I would rather fish a TOC.
Well, and also you're fishing the TOC and Santee, a lake that you used to hate, but now you've come to love and do pretty well on. If you all right, so we got the Bassmaster. Hold on. We got the Bassmaster Classic, we got the Hobie TOC, and then we got the Hobie Worlds. Is fishing Worlds, is that the creme de la creme of kayak bass fishing? Is that the top echelon of it?
You cut out for a second, but the Worlds is the top tier for me. Okay. The TOC some years is more of a show than other years, and I think there's years where they've done the TOC up where it feels like it's got the Worlds kind of hands on it, where it feels like it's a crazy event. There's some years where it's been, obviously still a big championship where somebody can go win 40 grand. But the showmanship of the classic is kind of taken over with that stage, and rightfully so, because if I go to work and I tell the old guys at work that fish, oh, I fished in the kayak classic, that's going to mean a lot more to them than me saying, oh, I won a tournament of champions. They're going to be like, oh, you finished 30th in the kayak classic. That's awesome. How'd you do in the TOC or whatever? I'll be like, oh, I finished second in the TOC. And they're like, what's the TOC? You know what I mean? Where
right.
It's just,
they know what the Bassmaster Classic is.
Yeah. That has a name that follows so much more than just kayak tournaments.
If you had to choose one, we're going to do, let's do this. We're going to take it. Marry, fuck, kill. You ever played that game as a kid?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So marry, fuck, kill, Bassmaster Classic, TOC, Hobie Worlds.
Hobie Worlds is definitely number one.
So you're going to marry?
Yeah. Marry Worlds. Second to me, just from personal, is I love the TOC. It's an event that I look forward to every year. It's 3 days. To me, it's more of a thing for our sport. And it's probably just my personal opinion, just of me liking it so much. The TOC, I've had a lot of success there.
Yeah. And it's been around, the Classic has been 4 years now, and the TOC has been around a lot longer, and kind of has a little bit more prestige, isn't the right word, but it's got the longevity aspect of to the Classic. Yeah,
the Classic's the odd man out for me. And it's nothing against the Classic. I just the way it kind of just is, and the time of year, I kind of really struggle in early March for whatever reason. I struggle getting excited to go to a trade show that we happen to fish a day or two in the middle of it, to me. And like I said, it's nothing against it. That's just how I, kind of go into the Classic is being, and I, for whatever reason, it's not something that I get as excited for as the TOC, and honestly, less people in the TOC. I feel like it's a lot harder to qualify for the TOC just based on numbers and who's been there. To me, until they quit having the TOC, it's our biggest event. And I kind of look at fishing a lot like golf, where the ranking system that we have is kind of like, what in the world? How is that or whatever else? And and we have a bunch of events scattered throughout the whole year, and then we have kind of a handful of majors, howbeit. And one of those is the TOC, one of those is the KBF National Championship, like it or hate it. And obviously the other one's the Classic. What the fourth one is, I don't know. Maybe the All-American. But I don't know half the time whether they're going to have that or not. I look at the number of people showing up for the series. I don't know if the series is separate from the All-American Classic. I don't know. It seems like they have 300 people in the All-American Classic, and they give away a bunch of money for that. And then you look at the series, and there's 15 people showing up to fish their series. So I don't know where all the people come for the All-American Classic, but that's a cool event that I've wanted to fish. It would probably be our fourth kind of major, so to speak. But to me, it's just anymore. To me, it's just getting out on good bodies of water, and fishing multiple day events on solid bodies of water, and grinding against people that have qualified to be there. That to me is what makes the TOC so big to me, is it's so hard to qualify for it. There's a lot of very good fishermen that have not fished TOCs.
Yeah. Look, all right, we've got the fishing stuff out of the way. You have become a podcaster, a fishing podcaster, and this is new. And correct me if I'm wrong. You started it last year towards. Tell us what road dogging is, why you started it, what is the future coming up for road dogging?
I started road dogging last fall. I've done a poor job of being consistent with it, which is kind of funny. I blame it on all sorts of things, just being road dogging and being gone so much,
Right.
as part of it. But, I've recorded, less than 10 episodes, maybe 6 or 7 episodes. And, I would say it's been about once a month, but they haven't all came out at a month apart. It's basically been, I'll do 2 or 3, and then I get excited, and then I won't do some for a few months, and then I'll do 2 or 3. And, I really like doing it. It's nothing that, it's something that I enjoy. It's something that I feel like I have a place in the fishing podcast market where people like to listen to kind of what I do when I do it. I've had everything from kayak guys that win tournaments to kayak guys that don't really fish any tournaments to I had the homeless fisherman who is basically famous for living out of his van. But the one thing I've kind of had in common with all these people are they spend a lot of time on the road, whether they're chasing tournaments or whether they're just chasing fish or chasing YouTube clicks or whatever. They're spending a lot of time on the road. And, there's a really crazy, wild group of guys that are similar to myself, where they're driving to tournaments all night and driving home to go to work. And they're driving here and there and to do, whatever it is that they do, whether it's just trying to make more events or whatever else. The goal was, whenever I kind of got all this started, was to kind of build it up to the point where I could ask, kind of the original, at least original in my mind. I'm sure there's people that have done it more than him or before him, but the original road dog in my mind, as far as bass fishing goes, was Polinick. Brandon Polinick. Some of my friends met him sleeping in his truck at a local tournament here in Lenore City, Knoxville. Probably, I don't know, 15 years ago at this point. He was just, road dogging around. He was from Idaho, and he'd spend 6 months logging, and then he'd spend 6 months basically driving around the country, just fishing different fisheries. And I just, for whatever reason, Polinick is blown up in our sport. And I don't know. That's to me, is if I could ever get road dogging rolling enough to get him on here. I've talked to another Elite Series angler, Tyler. Oh my goodness, I can't think of his last name, but he lives up in Maine, and he's been traveling around fishing the Opens and the Elite Series this year. And when he comes into town and passes through this area, he actually stays in the parking lot of the local tackle shop, Mickey Outdoors, where I hang out, probably once a
Nice.
week. And he's just a good dude. I've talked to him, and he's basically just I talked to him after the classic. He was here just hanging out in McKees, and I was like, "What you doing?" He's like, "I'm still on my way from Oklahoma to Lake Murray or wherever he was headed." He said, "I'm doing about 6 or 7 hours of driving, and then I just basically stop and hang out somewhere for the rest of the day." And he's just road dogging around. I mean, literally, I've talked to him. He wants to come on. We can't seem to make a day stick, and I need to kind of follow up with that on my end, because like I said, I've been really kind of on and off with this, and I need to get more consistent. But there's a handful of people that have talked to me. I approached somebody at the classic and was like, "Hey man, why don't you give me so and so, let me play with it, test it out." And he said, I'll get you one of those if you can come on road dogging, or if I can come on road dogging and talk. And I'm like, "You know what road dogging is?" He said, "Dog, I've watched every episode." I'm like, "Okay, this is cool." Somebody that I haven't seen in a few years that's in the fishing industry, that's in the kayak industry at one point in time. It is kind of cool to have that. I hate to say reach, because I'm not reaching a whole bunch of people, but it's cool to see somebody that is outside of specific people that I talk to. I mean, obviously, kayak guys that are in the tournament scene are kind of following what I'm doing, just because I'm doing it every single week. It's one thing to get those guys and people I know and people at work and my friends that I talk to all the time, but somebody that I hadn't talked to in 2 years saying that they watch road dogging was just really awesome to me. That was as much as I could ask for. And for somebody to want to come on the podcast, to me, is even cooler.
Well, that's the essence of road dogging too. Is it might not be able to be as consistent as a regular podcast, because the essence of road dogging is you're on the road. What is road dogging? Explain, define what road dogging is to the Bass and Brews listeners, the brewskis, who maybe don't fish tournaments, who don't travel to fish. They don't know what the fuck road dogging is. Explain to us, give us a definition, your definition of what road dogging is.
Man, road dogging is showing up and just fishing and just trying to go places and fish new bodies of water, and taking truck stop showers at Love's at 1 a.m. on your way home, where you're just tired of smelling like rank, and you're driving and you're just, you've got all your stuff in your truck. I've got stuff in my truck that I haven't thrown in 6 months, but I may need it. And I've got it. And I carry a pillow and a blanket in my truck, because I don't know whether I'm going to end up on somebody's couch or end up in somebody's house. I don't know whether I'm going to, a lot of times I have an air mattress in my truck where I can air it up in somebody's Airbnb living room. Half the time, if I'm not staying with Eric and Pro Neighbor, where they've got a very nice Airbnb and have steaks and wraps for me when I get there, I don't know where I'm staying. There's been a lot of times I'll drive to Texas and I'm driving through Alabama seeing if anybody has a house available, because I'm halfway there. I've signed up for the tournament and I don't know where I'm going to sleep when I get there. Because it's sleeping in your truck, it's sleeping at boat ramps. I don't know how many times. The worst thing COVID ever did was take away 24-hour Walmarts, because now if I'm sleeping in a Walmart parking lot in the middle of the night, then if I got to use the bathroom, then I got to step out of the truck and take a leak in the parking lot. I can't go inside and get me a pack of cookies and use the bathroom and get something to drink, something cool to drink out of the cooler. So, it's just, it's going, the extra mile, literally. It's loading up in the middle of the day and driving another boat ramp and driving an hour in the middle of your fishing day just to fish for 30 minutes at the last boat ramp to try to catch an upgrade. It's swapping out an alternator in the middle of a tournament because you're not going to give up in the middle of a tournament that you think you're doing well at. I caught a limit and then had to swap out an alternator in the middle of my day in an O'Reilly's parking lot. It's flat tires on the side of the road and having to, pull your kayak off and set it on the ground and lift your trailer up and kick a cooler underneath it and setting the trailer on the cooler just to swap out some spare tires on the trailer. Man, it's all the above. It's everything that happens on the road, whether it's traffic or having crazy people ask you 9 million questions. It's rolling up somewhere and seeing some local go, man, you're a long way from home. Be like, yeah, I just drove down here to fish this fishery. I drove up here to fish this place. How is it? And they said, I can't believe you drove all the way up here to fish this place. This place sucks. And you're just there just because somebody scheduled a tournament there. You know what I mean? You ain't never been there. I ain't never been there. I'm just rolling up, poking around.
Mm-hmm. That's in. You talked about like having a place in the fishing realm, and on this podcast, what you hear, and your podcast really embodies that idea, that saying, because it is the people who are loading their shit up and going. It is the actual journey to get from where they are to where they're going to go fish. What you are good at doing through your podcast is bringing out that journey, talking about these and the little nuances of those trips and the fun shit that they've had, the weird shit that they've been around. The first episode you did it with Eric Thomason, and
Yeah.
I got a shout out from there, and both got my fucking name, and I'm so pissed because Eric always, and he has a guy that has really good steaks. Well, we were at Santee 2 years ago, and I see you shaking off sweat, dude. I'm in the same boat as you. I'm out here in my damn garage. I got this little portable air hot air on me. But anyway, y'all, I went to my buddy Josh. As a matter of fact, I didn't get to pre-fish that Santee tournament at all because I made like a 2.5 hour detour to go, and then we smoked out the house. It was a great time, good time. But I don't travel a lot. I go a year. I enjoy listening to that travel aspect of tournament fishing that you put out there on your podcast. Lottery, and that's where people have a good time. They meet, they get to hang out, they get to do all that shit. That's the fishing is fun, but you're in a tournament setting. You're out there to do good. It's back at the house. It's getting to and from. That's the fun part of it for sure.
Yeah, there's a whole giant group of people that go to events with just the that are just there for the camaraderie. If they're catching fish and they're in the loop for a tournament, then that's just a big bonus for them. And it's fun to stay with those folks. It's fun to stay out till midnight throwing cornhole. It's fun to do all that. There's if you want to go do that, there's enough people to go have a blast and sing karaoke at some random bar you've ended up at. There's no shortage of fun to be had on the road. And there's a balance there too of trying to catch fish and having a good time and all that. And that's that's kind of what I've had to focus on the last couple of years of just trying to balance things out and enjoy myself. I spent a couple of years especially where I was so focused on the fishing aspect and just going to tournaments and coming back. If I had a bad tournament, I'm halfway through Saturday thinking about where am I headed next and not necessarily enjoying myself, in the fish I've caught at whatever event I'm at. So, luckily the last year or so, I've spent a good portion of that time, at least this year. I'd hate to include last year as well, but this year especially, I've tried to have more fun and appreciate the good events I've had. And road dogging's supposed to be fun, man. And I spent a long time, so focused on making it to and from events and how I was doing that I wasn't necessarily enjoying the twos and fros. And you have people go, man, do you even work? Do you do you this? Do you do that? You just living on the road, whatever. Oh, you're living the dream, whatever else. And I had somebody like, man, you're living the dream. And I was like, man, it feels about like a nightmare. And I started thinking about that. And I'm like, man, I've been very, very blessed to do what I've done the last handful of years and have some success at doing it. And, that's, I've spent a good portion of this year trying to appreciate that a lot more. And I think it's showed, even though it hasn't necessarily in tournament results, but, this year's been a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I go to one or two a year. Usually if there's a tournament in the Carolinas, I try to make those. And I want to go there and do good. But, I'm showing up on Friday, usually with no pre-fishing. I'm showing up on Friday afternoon and I'm going to look at a ramp or two. But my whole thing is I love that the social aspect of it, and going to get to see guys we've had on the podcast and people that I've met on social media and all that. So I'm the guy that pays their $250 or $300 and rolls down and camps, or hollers at George, say, hey, do y'all have like a couch or something I can crash on for a couple of days? I enjoy the social. I'm competitive. I do want to go down there and do good. You never know when you might look into 2 good days of fishing. But in general, being able to go down there and hang out with folks and to meet folks in person and have a good time. Look, man, we're going to wrap this up. Tell everybody where they can find Jordan Marshall and where we can find Road Dogging, and shout out any of your new sponsors that you have coming up. Ooh, real quick, what did we learn during our kayak sinking? What? Where you had your sinking, the guy was being an asshole.
Oh gosh.
What tournament was that this year?
That was Lake Murray Bassmaster. I think that was the first Bassmaster of the year. That was Murray.
Where you got turtled? Was that Murray? You got?
I didn't turtle. My kayak straight up sank. I mean, it literally. I was motoring back to the boat ramp, and my kayak literally sank. I knew I was taking on water. It was high winds, and I literally turned around, and my whole motor was underwater, still pushing me. The back of the boat had water almost to the black pack, and I kept her pinned to try to make it to the ramp, or at least try to make it to the bank. I kind of cut hard left and went up to that rocky point that you guys saw in the video I posted. I literally ran the kayak up on that, just full speed, trying to get it as far out of the water as I could. And I hopped out and everything was good, and there were just so many waves that it finally flipped the kayak over, and all my stuff just dumped out. So the guy on the bank, I pulled the kayak up to once it got put back over.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Go ahead. I was just going to say that somebody who spends 99% of the other people, and you always got to have the cognizance or the awareness, your situational awareness, to be able to handle the situation, and you handled it without losing all of, at least save the majority.
Yeah, it was. I have a whole new respect for cold water. I mean, when I hopped out, I was basically in waist deep water in February in South Carolina, and I think the water temp was 50 degrees. And just wading through the water, trying to get my net and my drive. I mean, my drive flipped out of the water, flipped into the water. So I was getting rods that didn't flow. I was trying to grab boxes and just try to grab everything that sank. That wasn't tethered to the kayak. And, I had steel toe boots on like always, and they were completely full of water. And honestly, by the time, Eric and Pro Neighbor got there to pick me up, and, I was probably not in the best shape, just from, my legs were just worthless, because I mean, everything, I was soaking wet. I mean, I was completely completely wet head to toe by the time that I was out of the water and got all my stuff, just from the waves splashing me and all that, and just hopping out in the water. And I was probably lucky not to have some sort of kind of hypothermia situation with that, with just my feet being full of 50-degree water for an hour or so by the time they came and picked me up. And you know, the dexterity of my hands and feet by the time I got everything out of the water was noticeably different in the 20 minutes that I did that. So it gave me a new respect for cold water and being prepared. It didn't quite hit me how serious that situation was until afterwards. People were kind of joking around about it with just it being so cold. Because I'm you know, outside of just getting mad with myself when I lose a fish or just mad at myself in general, I'm a pretty calm, cool, and collected customer. And you know, I really didn't think of that. I mean, I was kind of joking and laughing in the video. I'm standing in the water taking video and posting on Facebook. I'm standing in the water posting it because I ain't got enough sense to get out of the water to start with. And you know, and it kind of hit me afterwards, like, yeah, that was pretty dumb. And the guy that was there on the bank was mad we might ruin his riprap that he paid to set there on Murray. So if anybody wants a pin to put some riprap in the lake or something, make your own fishing spot, I'll drop you a pin. You can go steal that guy's riprap because he obviously cares about it a lot, and there's plenty of it there.
All right, tell us where we can find Road Dog, your sponsors, your
Yeah, pretty much all my stuff is just my name, Jordan Marshall. I think Instagram is Jordan Marshall Fishing or JD Marshall Fishing. I've got Road Dog stuff. You can just go on YouTube and type in Road Dog, and it's under the Kayak Bass Nation kind of YouTube page. So it's you can just type in Road Dog, and all the episodes pull up under the Kayak Bass Nation stuff. It's easy to find. Y'all can check it out there. I think KBN puts that stuff with all their regular podcasts. So if you already listen to KBN, I'd say it's on that stuff too.
it is.
Yeah. As far as sponsors go, you know, Hobie's been good to me a long time. I talked a lot about Worlds and TFC. They've been good to me. Lose and Strike King have, you know, that's, you know, as I showed y'all earlier with the rod there, those are Lose American Heroes, the camo series that they, I think, donate a portion of that money to something. I'm not going to claim a specific thing. I don't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure that's why I went with those, because they donated some money to that, like Wounded Warrior Foundation or something. I think that's a good, worthy cause, and that's why I went with those. Owner hooks, I talked about those a lot with swapping that Chapo. I got the hat on. I'm a big owner guy. I actually got hooked up with them because I just basically started buying a bunch of hooks and trying to see what I liked, and that's kind of what I settled with. And luckily, the owner rep is a friend of a friend and kind of knew a little bit about who I was and what I was doing. So owners, good, fantastic people that I love working with. Miller Tech lithium batteries are fantastic. I ran it to absolute death the last 2 days up at Susky, where I had to, you know, motor down river and turn around and go 7 miles back up river. I have no sponsorship affiliation with Newport, but I will say this: there were 3 anglers that were down there with where I was in the Susky, and all 3 of them broke their torpedoes, and I motored back in my Newport and my Miller Tech, and I will happily stand on that hill because I could watch on my app all day to see exactly how much battery I had, how much battery I was draining, and all that. I love that Miller Tech's app on there. I think it's fantastic, and I think that Newport's about as bulletproof as you can get to, and that's a non-sponsorship thing. I just like it, and I trust the Newport product. Yeah, Hobie sunglasses. Y'all can see in a bunch of my pictures, I had sunglasses on and extra sunglasses. I'm a sunglass fiend. You can probably see on my face.
Yeah. I've mentioned this before because all the kayak anglers and all the kayak fishing podcasts were sponsored by Hobie sunglasses, and I never went with them. I was just like, they make no reason why I had a negative opinion about them. And I met Dylan, and I got some. I'm like, holy shit, these motherfuckers are good sunglasses. But they were the wraparounds one, and I'm real hot. I sweat, and so they fogged up a lot on me. They made my face hot. So I went with the Huntingtons, which have interchangeable lenses on them.
Yes, I've got some Huntingtons down there. I wear
Yeah.
the coastal floats are mostly what I
Yeah.
wear. They're just kind of like a
Yep.
typical Wayfarer because I mean, you can see me wiping sweat off around my
Yeah.
face because my
Same thing.
forehead
They
sweats.
allow some airflow. Yeah, those are square body lenses, so you get some airflow. They don't fog up as much. I like the Huntingtons because I can lenses on them, and I, was a pilot firefighter. I had interchangeable lenses because it would be, when we do night stuff, you'd have to put in clear lenses. We had to have glasses on. So I love, but Hobie, anyway, not to have more than my initial perception I had of them. I love, they are great sunglasses to have. They are not expensive either. I mean, they
Yeah,
aren't Shady
they're
Rays,
correctly
but you
priced.
ain't
Yeah,
paying $400 for. Hell yeah, they are good sunglasses. Friends
yeah.
and family. How about your friends and family? Do they who makes it and friends and family wise?
Yeah, I have to thank my mom and dad. You know, I mentioned earlier in the show that I was very, very blessed to have them come to Worlds. I appreciate them so much for all the support they've given me over the last few years of traveling and stuff, and kind of believing in what I was trying to do. And obviously, my girlfriend Michaela. Every podcast I go on, y'all can probably tell by now I start winking because she watches everything. So I always try to wink at her. The other day I recorded a podcast. She was sitting over here watching. I still was bringing her up, and that's been one of my um, bigger high points of the season was just taking her fishing. She got to practice with me at Gunnersville, and she caught like a 18 on a jackhammer right beside me in some grass, and she got to enjoy that, and I took her and kind of helped her with her first kayak tournament, which is Fishing for Soldiers, which is a great local charity tournament that I've been fortunate to win, and it's one of the first things I put on the calendar every year. And she won top female angler because she caught like a 17 like right at the last minute with like less than a minute left to get her picture in, and won top female angler. So that's been a couple of my high points in the season. So, and I think that's kind of what she's got, a great outlook on things, and having a good time, and enjoying
Nice.
moments like that out on the water. So I think that's helped me a lot this year of, kind of putting things in perspective and how lucky I've been to travel as much as I have. And I appreciate her a lot because she gives a very good perspective on, she understands enough about fishing that I can talk to her about a lot of this. And, she has a blank slate with not knowing how this stuff goes to be able to give me a clear, unbiased response to a lot of things. So obviously I appreciate her too. A couple more things I'm going to mention. Sniper Marine, those guys are fantastic. They got me in the door at ICAST and hooked me up when some things went a little sideways. And I'm Tim and Trey are fantastic. Appreciate those guys a whole lot, and looking forward to some of the stuff that we've been working on together and what they've got coming. And Yeah. And if anybody needs a mattress, I got a mattress guy too. M. Lily Mattresses, one of my local buddies here, has his own mattress company.
Nice.
So if you need a mattress, we can set you up with a mattress too. You don't even have to be local. We'll rock and roll with that too.
They got some road dogging mattresses.
It's I don't know why I said M. Lily, but it's Lewis Sleep. I got the name wrong. He changed names. It's Lewis Sleep. So luckily Damien don't watch a lot of podcasts, but
Well, he damn sure ain't
he'll kill
listening to
me
this shitty ass podcast, Bass
yeah,
and
I
Brew.
ain't,
So
I
you
ain't,
good?
I ain't telling him about this one, but it's Lewis Sleep. I got used to him being with that other company, so it's Lewis Sleep is his company. So if you need a mattress, holler at me. We'll get you set up with a mattress. That's a respectable price.
I appreciate you coming on. It's always a great time to talk to you. It's always a great time to tap into the Jordan Marshall mind frame of fishing, because there's certain people that just they can catch fish how they want to catch them on a regular basis, and there's not a lot of people that can do that at every lake they go to. And you're good at finding the fish that you want to bite and that shows in how well you do in tournaments. So I'm always appreciative when you're able to come on the podcast and talk fishing and stuff like this and give us our time. This is one of the few episodes on Bass and Brews where you can actually learn some shit. And so we're appreciative of that because every now and then we do want to be informative. But look, this is Bass and Brews Podcast. We appreciate y'all coming on. We had a good lineup of folks tonight. Don't forget, go sign up for the Patreon. I believe this is the last month. You get to come on live with us in the comments. We try to bring you in on that. It helps support the podcast from Alex's point of view because I don't do shit but show up. And don't forget to leave us some reviews. Jordan, you got anything to leave us with before we end on here?
I actually did email
some
you
words of wisdom.
I actually emailed you a review right before we started because you were talking about it, and I sent you one. I was going to hope you would read it at some point, but
well, look, we will read it on next week's episode. You'll hear Jordan Marshall's review because we don't have time now. We've been on. Jordan's going to take his ass to bed because both of him and I are in the trash industry. Mornings, plus it's hotter than hell outside. And make sure you thank your trash people.
It's 3 lines. I'll read it right now. I don't even care.
Read it. For Alex.
Here's my review.
Go ahead.
5 stars. The host is questionably homeless. Will listen and be on again.
Direct to the point, and I love it. It's great. Look, guys, thank you, Jordan, for coming on. We appreciate Brandon from Kayak Cushion. Y'all go get Kayak Cushion if you want a y'all look or a Bass and Brews Kayak Cushion. He has the stuff there. He can hook you up. Thank you. We appreciate you, Jordan. Hang on. Don't go anywhere, buddy. We got